Scoobtober? Scooby-Doo!
I'm 18, able to legally vote.
Hey, it's Scoobtober, and we're nearing the end, which means we need to go out with a bang. And what better way is there to celebrate Halloween than with an actual Halloween special? We're headed to What's New, Scooby-Doo, for Season 2, Episode 6, the 20th episode overall for A Scooby-Doo Halloween, originally aired October 25th, 2003. This is one of 3 holiday specials for the show. I already covered the Christmas one, but that also means that if you want it on home video, you're going to want to avoid the cheap and crummy complete series DVD set. You see, even though the 3 individual season sets have 6 discs, just like the complete series set has 6 discs, for some reason they completely redid them specifically just to remove the holiday specials, and didn't even update the masters for the other episodes to be the proper widescreen versions while doing that. So they are still incorrectly cropped like the season sets anyway, which means that it's actually not a complete series set. It is in fact missing 3 entire episodes that are some of the most iconic. If you want completion, you will have to get these season sets. Of course, you can also get the volume DVD Monster Matinee, the 6th overall of the series, which came out in 2005. It's also on some other DVDs, but either way, if you want the episode as part of the whole show, yeah, not the full complete series set. This episode was also adapted into comic form by Scholastic later. Being a holiday special, this has a fairly stacked voice cast as well. For just some of them, Diedrich Bader and Julia Sweeney voice Uncle Evan and Aunt Meg. Jenny McCarthy voices the beautiful Marcy, which would be a big deal back in 2003. Rhea Perlman, yes, of Matilda or recently Barbie for more modern titles, voices Agnes. And with Kiss in the episode, yes, that Kiss, Paul Stanley is the only member to guest star and voice himself. I sadly have to mention that the day I started writing this video, original lead guitarist Ace Frehley, aka the Spaceman, passed away at 74. He had already left the band by this episode, so he does not portray the Spaceman in any Scooby media. But it wouldn't feel right not to mention him right now. The world will miss Space Ace. On July 10th, 2015, we also got the movie Scooby-Doo and Kiss, Rock and Roll Mystery, which saw the gang team up with the band again, the rest of the band actually voicing themselves this time. I'm not going to touch on that in this particular video, however. I don't personally like that movie itself. It's what made me stop really watching the Scooby-Doo TV movies for a while, so if I'm ever going to talk about it, it's going to be a full deep dive. We're here for Halloween, so let's come together for that today and remember something fun with the band. And with that, we are in for a fairly classic treat here, so let's not waste any time breaking down all of the references, iconic moments, and more. Making it clear it's a true holiday special, this episode opens up with an actual title card, dropping us in a swamp with a swamp monster. You can immediately tell there's influence from and homage to which witch is which and its swampy setting. The gang capturing the creature and explaining his story while the boys start to become impatient. They finish the meddling kids line themselves and drag the gang to the van, and we even get a laugh track for the first time in What's New, communicating that this is a real throwback special. They're in such a rush because they want to get to Velma's aunt and uncle's home for Halloween, though the others remind Shaggy that's not until tomorrow. This place is the place to spend the holiday though, and he is not missing out on a second of it. He also mentions, while stressing out Fred with his bad driving, that Kiss will be playing at the big event tomorrow as well, hoping for Paul Stanley to sign his forehead.
You're killing my mystery machine!
The laugh track enjoys Fred treating his special baby extra well, while Daphne notices all the spooky scarecrows out the window, the atmosphere of which Shaggy actually likes, being Halloween scary and not regular scary, setting synchronized watches for the Halloween countdown. They pass the 100th anniversary sign as they make it to the home, where this classic-looking guy nearly attacks them before her aunt and uncle recognize them. Is it just me, or is Mr. Scary here, real name Curtis, meant to resemble Asa Shanks from Haunted House Hang Up, down to the overalls? Thelma's aunt and uncle explain that someone has been slashing and burning the cornfields at night, for which the police have no leads, and Curtis insinuates the gang somehow could be involved. Someone in the field watches on, however. The boys enjoy dancing with a skeleton as Velma reconnects with her cousin Marcy.
You haven't changed at all. In fact, are you wearing the exact same outfit?
Aunt Meg is excited they can be here for the 100th anniversary of Banning Junction celebrating Halloween. Uncle Evan adding founder Hank Banning's ghost might even show up. He apparently served as mayor for years until he started seeing and hearing things, and was removed from office for being unfit. Love all these classic decorations Scooby falls into. It's very reminiscent of growing up with Halloween in the 2000s. I was only 7 years old when this aired, which is strange to think about. Anyway, Hank Banning put a curse on the town and said he'd return in 100 years to get his revenge. Aunt Meg assures them most people don't believe it, but there's a huge turnout because people still want to say they were here.
And to see Kiss play the masquerade ball! Kiss! Kiss! Kiss!
Daphne sees a reflection of one of the Scarecrows outside and freaks out, as she should.
I could have sworn I saw something big and creepy in the window.
It was probably your own reflection.
Marcy being voiced by Jenny McCarthy is even more fitting these days with how cuckoo she's become now. That's definitely a rabbit hole to fall down, and scary, maybe scarier than the episode. Aunt Meg also announces this year's big as Marcy has been crowned this Halloween's Corn Princess. Jenny McCarthy is indeed corny. Fred says it's neat that she'll be queen of the masquerade party tomorrow.
Neat? How very retro of you, Blondie.
Uncle Evan says it's time for bed, so Marcy says she'll show them to their rooms and asks Daisy to get the bags. Daisy is not amused. Scooby tries to also stand up to a black cat, but the scary red eyes ultimately win. During the night, we see someone is indeed chopping up the cornfield and setting it ablaze, this couple making out, just barely escaping. The big celebration kicks off the next day, and it's a little sparse, but still very inviting. Scooby even carves a pumpkin like Shaggy, who himself jump scares him, and then check their synchronized watches for the Halloween countdown. Daisy is a little preoccupied meanwhile, staring at Marcy and Fred together, popping a balloon to distract them. Velma meets Mayor Green and Eldon Reed, when Curtis runs up to tell them it happened again. Everyone investigating the destroyed cornfield, but there aren't any tracks beyond the ones they made getting here, even though everything including animals would leave tracks here, as if something came from the sky. The boys, meanwhile, are enjoying a candy apple in front of a scarecrow when the cat steals it, the two chasing it up an abandoned water tower where their vantage point reveals something terrifying. A crop circle shaped like a jack-o'-lantern. Velma and Fred go up to check and find each of the destroyed areas to be a different classic symbol of Halloween when viewed from above. Fred also finds a glove, even though this tower seems like it hasn't been used in years. Shaggy wonders who made the crop circles, and Rhea Perlman's character Agnes, who owns the black cat, walks up to say it was none other than the ghost of Hank Banning, signs of his return in the fields being part of his prophecy. The mayor calls it an old wives' tale, and Agnes calls him out on not saying that when encouraging tourists to come spend their money to see the ghost. She warns them all to be prepared and lock themselves away before the ghost returns tonight.
Does kids know about this?
Velma and Fred assure the boys there's no supernatural entity behind this, but come up short of an explanation. Daphne, suggests Marcy could be behind it, which Fred and Velma just don't buy. Fred decides it's time to split up, the trio heading to the library for research and the boys going to see Agnes, which they protest, so Velma accepts the switch.
First, you'll need to pull every book, magazine, and almanac on the region, then cross-reference it with the turn-of-the-century folklore, which you can find in the microfiche archives.
You lost them at book.
We'll be right back.
I can't wait to go trick-or-treating. Think of all the candy we'll get.
Make this Halloween a real treat. Get What's New, Scooby-Doo, Volume 6.
Because it's not regular scary, it's Halloween scary.
Get 4 all-new spooky adventures from the hit TV show on DVD.
Ooh.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4 new super scary villains.
Yikes!
So get a costume
Like I had no idea I was so handsome.
and grab your friends. It's time to trick or treat.
More candy.
Go bobbing for What's New, Scooby-Doo, Volume 6 on DVD. And have a very happy Halloween.
The boys make it to the home of Agnes, which is already appropriately looking like a haunted house, the door even opening on its own to reveal a home furnished with lots of frights. There's a witch hat and broom over here, a dummy or something of a witch over here that we have 2 different angles of, and is this a crystal ball? Shaggy finds some scythes and general gear related to the fields and wonders if Agnes is the one behind all this, just running his mouth while Scooby tries to tell him.
She's right behind me, isn't she? This isn't the bakery?
Which is enough for them to rush out of there. Over at the library, Velma finds there to be a food processing plant just outside of town that's been buying up properties for years, the desecrated cornfields being the last independently owned fields here. Fred realizing the owner of the plant is Eldon Reed. Marcy comes up to greet her cousin, Fred, and Debbie, saying she's here studying because they're forcing her to take electrical engineering in school, which excites Velma. It's a double big day for Marcy, as she's not just the queen, it's also her birthday.
I'm 18, able to legally vote.
Yes, I'm sure that's how that was going to end. That's the only thing that changes at 18. Right. Debbie quizzes Marcy on where she was this morning, the cousin saying she was at the mall where she works, which Debbie still questions. So Marcy lists every person who saw her there down to the security camera. Debbie doubts even the camera, forced to watch the tape and still trying to say it could be anyone, until someone calls out Marcy's name. Checkmate, Debbie. Night in the cornfield approaches. The boys heartbroken as they have to miss Halloween to be out here, though Velma insists they can still have fun.
Shall I tell a ghost story?
No.
They hear a noise and the light catches a Scarecrow, another sound leading them to a ghost rising up, Shaggy passing away before Scooby reveals himself. Fire suddenly shoots from the eyes of the Scarecrow who comes to life, jumping down and fully sentient it seems. Every other Scarecrow in the field joining it in surrounding the gang with terrifying weapons as hands. I personally love Scarecrows being evil and scary. The scarier the version of the Batman villain the better, so you know I love the Scarecrow walks at midnight from Goosebumps. Very similar to this episode, the gang run for a barn that seems to be locked, everyone about to meet their doom until Scoop starts blasting the creeps with a water hose, which ends up short-circuiting all of them, the gang realizing they're remote-controlled robots. More come out of the field, but before Scoop can blast them, they reverse course to head somewhere else. Fred suggests the boys go undercover as the two Scarecrows they just axed, which they don't love, but Daphne points out they can finally celebrate Halloween. At the masquerade party, as we get our first look at the Wizard of Oz costumes far away, Curtis shows up dressed as Hong Kong Phooey.
#1 super guy.
One of my favorite Hanna-Barbera shows, Do Not Play With Me and Hong Kong Phooey. The disguises seem to work for the boys, while Velma tracks them to the town hall where the party is. The Cowardly Lion, Tin Man, and Dorothy then mistake them for being their own Oz Scarecrow, so I guess they're all ready to see Wicked for good as well. Meg and Evan finally introduce Kiss, if you even remember they were supposed to show up eventually, where the band performs their song Shout It Out Loud, though after the first verse they only repeat the title over and over. Things seem to be going wrong as the lights start flashing, and the ghost of Hank Banning actually shows himself. But the band go ahead with their performance as the Scarecrows start their chase. It's not a What's New episode without a musical chase scene after all. If we have Kiss, we better use them. Here's the very super iconic moment where Shaggy dresses up exactly as he looks in Reluctant Werewolf, just with his green shirt now. We never see references to this era enough for me, so I eat this up. Look at how cute he is! Werewolf Shaggy is best Shaggy. Scooby dons a proper costume to be Superman, saving his best friend from the Scarecrow and landing safe. Fred also reveals the ghost is a mere projection, not supernatural, coming from a booth where the operator must be. It appears to be empty, however, Daphne wondering who would do this just to upstage Halloween, which makes it click for Velma. She has the entire town follow her to the old water tower, revealing the culprit to be none other than her cousin Marcy.
I knew it! Anyone who wears that much eyeshadow is bad news.
Meg and Evan ask why she would do this when she's already queen, and now that we can see them better, we can also find the two are actually dressed up as the couple from the 1930 painting American Gothic by Grant Wood. Marcy climbs down and asks if her mother even knows what day it is, Meg saying Halloween. Marcy has a kind of valid crash out as she says it also is her birthday, which has been overshadowed every single year of her life. The idea of who would want to upstage Halloween immediately made Velma realize this, then remembering the footage from the security camera and realizing the glove they found on the water tower was also present in that. Marcy says she just wanted to ruin the holiday so she could finally have the day to herself. As Velma explains, Marcy's electrical engineering knowledge from school allowed her to come up with the robotic Scarecrows and remote control them, using them to create the prophesized crop circle designs of Hank Banning. Aunt Meg feels pretty bad, admitting they let the holiday overshadow their daughter, and the sheriff decides that since nobody was hurt, maybe she can get off with community service. Shaggy also gets his forehead signed like he wanted by Kiss, who go to say goodbye to the Queen.
So who do I talk to about getting paid?
Marcy also promises Fred with a wink that she'll be out in 300 hours. Shaggy realizes Halloween isn't over yet, so the boys get their perfect costumes on, which are definitely scary. I don't like looking at that. As they head back out in the morning, it seems they at least got their proper fill, and even see Marcy doing her community service on the road.
Orange really is her color, don't you think?
Officially leaving Banning Junction, Velma notes her cousin always had a wild imagination, because who would believe a ghost coming back for revenge 100 years later? The spooky black cat of Agnes, however, would like a word, eyes glowing red and vanishing.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo?
I love that the credits, rather than featuring the usual theme song, have an entirely new Scarecrow-related song just for the episode, which they don't even mention in the credits. And that's a Scooby-Doo Halloween. Now that is a fun Halloween special. I think Scarecrows are pretty quintessential Halloween monsters, or however you categorize them, at least these days. So I like having them be the main sort of villain here. Like I said, I'm just obsessed with Scarecrows as villains dating back to my childhood. So this really is right up my alley, especially as a Halloween lover. And if that's not enough, you even have a ghost in the episode related to an ancient town prophecy. The whole works. I really do love the entire fall and Halloween aesthetic created in this episode. I would love to visit this town and enjoy Halloween here. Maybe without the robots attacking unless it's part of the show. The Oz characters showing up at a party are kind of a given in a Warner Bros. Animated show at this point. It's basically a guarantee that they are going to shove them in there somewhere since they own it. But I love the inclusion of Hong Kong Phooey. If we had to choose a Hamper Bear character to be a costume, that would absolutely be my choice. To be in the show, not to wear, mind you. There's such a classic touch to the whole episode with that, down to Curtis even looking like a pre-existing character. And we can't forget the laugh track, reminiscent of the original series, which feels kind of weird and unsettling in the episode actually. It feels like those shows where the characters can sort of hear the laugh track and acknowledge it as being creepy and something supernatural and nefarious going on, except it's never acknowledged that way here. It's just added as part of the classic homage. But it being creepy is perfectly fine. It just adds to the episode at that point. I think Marcy is an interesting villain, because she's definitely a mean girl. Her feud with Dabney, is really funny, but ultimately her plight is somewhat sympathetic, which is ironic given that her voice actress is a real-life villain herself now. But you do have to feel for Marcy, mean as she can be. I love Halloween. I think I would personally love to have my birthday be on Halloween. My birthday is already very close, so I've always gotten Halloween decorations and toys as gifts since I was a little child because I have been a Halloween freak since birth. But it gets to a point where if everybody is celebrating a holiday and not even your parents remember that it's your birthday on the same day, you don't get any attention on the one day that is supposed to be about you. And that really does have to suck. It's no wonder she becomes a little mean. She's never had anything actually be about her on the day it counts most. I'm sure if my birthday was on Halloween, it would still be celebrated as much as the holiday instead of what happened to Marcy. And it would probably be awkward to introduce a relative of the gang and then make them outright evil without a little bit of sympathy. I think it's interesting to give Velma a pretty mean girl relative at all. When she gets relatives, they are usually very unattractive nerd types. Agnes is a pretty enjoyable red herring as well, if sort of underutilized. We never actually see her again after they visit her house. Rhea Perlman delivers a good performance here. I can usually instantly recognize her voice, but I never realized until now that it was her, and I kind of wish they gave her more to do. I want to know more about Agnes, like why she has all of this actual witchcraft-looking furnishing in her home, and her cat clearly is actually supernatural if the ending says anything, which suggests she herself might actually really be a witch. I would have liked to expand on that, but I also think it's a fun and goosebumps kind of ending to have the cat suggest something supernatural without explaining, so I'm still liking where we are at. We also have a couple of other decent red herrings beyond even her. Eldon Reed is set up looking like he might be wanting to buy the cornfields cheap by destroying them, and the mayor is kind of giving Witch's Ghost for the potential that he could be doing this himself for publicity. Either of those are just as plausible as Marcy and set up well. I think Kiss is ultimately a sort of weird inclusion. They don't show up until the last 6 minutes of the episode, really not even that. Perform a song and then have one last little cameo at the very end. It really could have been anyone, so I would be interested in hearing why it's them specifically. Like, I know they obviously have a look to them, and I'm pretty sure plenty of people have often dressed as them for Halloween here and there, I've seen as much, but I don't really think of them when I think Halloween parties or the music you would hear at them, especially this party that's celebrating such an anniversary. It does stand to make the episode more memorable though, just in the way that I certainly remember they were in an episode, just not that it was this episode, because it's really not relevant to it directly. I need to get at least one more shout out to Werewolf Shaggy making a return. Can we please bring him back again someday? Can we please reference the 80s movie trilogy a little bit more? Bring them all back, I miss them. Anyway, this was a really fun episode to revisit. It's been a couple of years since I last saw it in a full rewatch of the show, and now I think it's even more of a crime for the complete series DVD to not include one of the best and most fun episodes. I still can't get over that. Hopefully you also enjoyed this little trip to Banning Junction for the day, and are also just generally having an enjoyable Halloween now that we have finally made it to the end of the greatest holiday. I suppose that marks the end of Scoobtober once more, and that now we must say farewell until we meet another gruesome or spooky fright somewhere. If you want to support the channel, the Patreon is now open. It's mostly just for that, but you also can get videos early as soon as they are ready, and maybe here and there a little bonus content. With that, bye!